this is Katie. In today's video, I want to talk about what not to do when you're traveling solo. A lot of you guys know that I've lived in this little car on and off, but for about 10 years, and I slept in my car, I have everything in my car, and I traveled around the country mostly by myself. I'd say at least 80% of my travels have been alone, if not more. And so I really have learned a lot over the last 10 years. Again, it's been on and off, but I have been traveling a lot by myself, and I have learned a lot over the years about what to do, what not to do. And so yeah, I guess that's gonna be it for this intro. If you're excited for this video, I really hope that you're subscribed, and I hope that you keep watching. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of stuff that I could talk about in this video. I'm only gonna mention a few in this particular video. So if you enjoy this video and you wanna see a part 2, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, so again, just some stuff that I would recommend not doing when you're traveling alone. And this is just based on my experiences, my circumstances, and my thoughts about traveling alone. Again, a lot of my travels have been in my car, and so they're gonna be more like based on that, but a lot of them kind of pertain to any type of traveling alone. So number 1, which is like the most important one, well, I mean, they're all important. That's why I have a whole list. But this one is more mindset. A lot of you guys know I talk about mindset a lot in my videos because living an alternative lifestyle, living on the road, doing anything that's different than the norm is going to take a really strong mindset and generally a mindset shift from what's normal, typical, what society says. So the first thing on my list is that I don't think it's good to be scared, but I think it's really good to be prepared. So number 1 of things not to do not go into living in a car, a road trip, or traveling solo. Do not go into that adventure being scared, because you know what? Anything bad could happen no matter what we're doing. Anything bad could happen wherever you are. If you're in a house, your house will get broken into. If you're driving, you could get hit by a car. If you're walking, you could get hit by a car. If you are traveling, or if you are just going to the grocery store in your hometown, you can get pickpocketed. You can walk down your front steps and you can fall. And the whole point of that is that every single thing that we do has risk. Every single thing. Whether you stay in one house in the same town the rest of your life, or whether you go on adventures and you change things all the time, or anything in between, literally every single thing that we do has risk. And so focusing on that risk and letting it scare us is never going to be helpful. It's just honestly not. But it is super important to be prepared. So it is important to acknowledge, okay, what are some things in terms of whatever I'm doing? Again, whatever you're doing, it could be walking outside of your house. What are some risks? And most of the time we do these things so often that we don't really need to consistently think about the risks because we already know them in our heads. But when you're gonna be traveling solo, just think about some of the risks that are involved that are different than your normal life. And so you are gonna be alone a lot. So you might want some sort of protection. If you're going to be sleeping in your car, you know, just the really basics of keep your doors locked, cover your windows. And I have a couple other videos in terms of safety, but really, really the one thing that I really wanted to point out here is yes, it's good to be safe. Yes, it's good to be prepared and have safety precautions, 100%. That is very, very important. But please do not let it make you scared. Please do not let the what ifs or someone else's experience or what you see on the news or what you see on TV, please don't let that make you scared. It is very unlikely that these horrific things are gonna happen to anyone, but letting it scare you is just never going to be helpful. It's not. You're not really going to be able to process what's going on, enjoy what's going on, actually like push forward into what really, really is best for you and what you really want if you let the fear stop you. So you can be aware of what's going on. Being aware of your surroundings is like key of traveling solo. Be aware of your surroundings, but you do not need to be afraid. And even if you do feel some fear, you do not need to let that stop you from doing something. You can feel that fear and go do it anyway. You can do things while you're afraid. Being afraid is not a reason to not do something if you still know that you really, really want to, and if you know that it's best for you, and if you know that you planned it out properly. Could something bad still happen? Yeah. But something bad could happen if you stay the same. It could. Just honestly, like think about it honestly. You can be in the same house at the same job and something bad still could happen. Like you never know. And so worrying about it and letting that fear stop you from doing anything, well, there's still risk at the thing that you're doing. There's always risk. And so it's really important to actually like think about it. Yes, think about it. Don't just like ignore it. No, think about it. Let's be aware of it. But it just takes that mindset shift of, you know what? Even though this is a little bit different or it might seem scary or some people are probably gonna try to talk me out of it, unless you're like a child, then you do not need to let other people talk you out of it. You really don't. Obviously, or if you're like leaving responsibilities, that's a little bit different. But like if it's just you and you know that this is right for you, do it. Do not let other people scare you. Do not let other people talk you out of it. And do not let your own self scare you, because a lot of the times we're just scared because change is hard. And it's easier to say, oh no, that's scary, I don't want to do it, versus just admitting, you know what, this is hard and it's going to take work. But if we don't work on our lives and like make sometimes drastic changes, then we might not even see what we're capable of. And again, not everyone is supposed to live in a car or would enjoy it or would enjoy traveling alone. Definitely not. But if you think that it's something that you want to do, even if it's just once, I want to go on a solo road trip for a week. Even if that's really what you want to do, there are still going to be some things that you got to plan out, and there are going to be some people who try to talk you out of it. And there are probably going to be some times that you're scared, but do not let that fear stop you. There is a really big difference between knowing in your gut, knowing that God is telling you something different. That's different, and that's just, you know, based on you and you knowing your own person. But if you can tell that it's just fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of doing something just different than everyone else around you, if you know that it's fear, do not listen to it. Do not let that stop you from doing something really cool. Okay? Just don't, because you never know what's going to happen. Take precautions, be smart about it, be aware about it, but just don't let that fear stop you. Okay? That's like the number one. Do not let fear stop you. Okay. All right. So next on my list, I only have 4 things on this list. Again, so if you want more, I could definitely do a part 2, part 3. Let me know in the comments, like if you like this kind of video. But number 2 of like what not to do if you're traveling solo. And again, this is my experience. This is my advice on this. But it's important for us to do a ton of research and to really realize what's right for us. Anyway, number 2 is do not tell strangers that you're traveling alone, and do not tell strangers where you're going, where you've been, what car you have, anything like that. Or if you're flying around, you're traveling solo, don't tell people where you're from. Don't tell people your flight connections. Don't tell people anything like that. Obviously, this is a very like, you might meet someone and after a few days you do feel safe telling them. Or you meet someone and you never feel safe telling them. This is definitely up to you, and this is where you really have to like trust your instincts. But I would just err on the side of caution of just don't tell strangers really anything. And sometimes I have, so I'm not saying that this is like an all across the board, but just be really, really, really careful with it. Again, this is not to be afraid, but to take some precaution and to just realize, you know what? 99% of the people out there are going to be totally fine. They're going to be safe. They're going to be fun to talk to. They're going to be totally fine. But you still want to just be as safe as you can in the situations that are presented to you and the situations that you choose for yourself. You might decide for yourself, okay, I might tell people I'm traveling alone, but that's it. That's all I'm telling them. You definitely don't have to answer people, and you can do it in a kind way. And I do not recommend lying. I am not a liar. I do not lie. But if someone asks you, oh, where are you staying? You can just say, I'm not going to tell you. You could say it in a nice way. I don't feel comfortable sharing that information. And if you think they're kind of following you, go in a different direction. You know what I mean? And always definitely like, especially if you're in a different country, but no matter where you are, know like how to get into safety if you need to. You know, like if you're in the country that you grew up in, you probably already know the emergency contact numbers. You might already know people who could help you if you really need to, but especially if you're in a different country, just make sure that you know some of like the safety measures that you might need to take and some phone numbers that you can call, or where a hospital is or a police station or something like that, like really just in case. So anyway, just be precautious is a lot of what these things are. Just be really, really precautious. And some of those things might sound like common sense, but there are really going to be some times where you kind of get caught up in the moment and you're really excited because you're talking to someone else about traveling and you want to tell them everything. And again, that's like, you have to decide that for you, because I have met people and same day told them I'm traveling alone, you know, like, because I have felt safe with them and I really just can trust my own instincts. So it's a lot of trusting your own instincts, but just err on the side of caution. And just generally, you don't need to tell anyone where you're going, where you've been, what kind of car you're driving, how long your trip is, anything like that, until you really, really like get to know them and or can trust them. Okay, the last couple, actually, I just thought of another one that's really, really quick. Do not let your cell phone go uncharged. Just don't. No matter where you are, if you are anywhere that has electricity, charge your cell phone. Charge as much stuff as you can if you have a camera, a computer, anything like that, but especially your phone. If you're at a laundromat, if you are at a coffee shop, if you are anywhere that there's an outlet, and or if your car is on and you're driving, just please make sure that you plug in your phone. Please. Please, please, please. And I just thought of another one really, really quickly. If you're driving, if you're on a road trip, especially by yourself, but honestly, this is when you're with other people too. The same with a lot of these. These also pertain if you're traveling with other people, but they're just extra important if you're traveling alone. Do not let your phone go anywhere near dead. Don't have external battery packs, have, you know, just a bunch of stuff just in case. But also do not let your gas tank, do not let that go lower than like a third, depending where you are. If you know that you're like on the East Coast of the United States and there's gas stations every 5 minutes, you might know that you can go kind of maybe a third to a quarter. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, if you're in the middle of Montana and you don't know where you are, try not to let your car go lower than like a half a tank of gas. Just in case, you never know, okay? Just in case. A couple more. I have a list on my phone, that's why I'm looking down, if you can't tell. Another one is don't keep all your money in one spot. And so obviously this is gonna look different for everyone depending on how many debit cards you have, credit cards you have, cash, stuff like that. I really do not recommend keeping it all in one spot, all in your wallet that's on you all the time. I really do recommend, if you can, again, depending on your situation and what you have, maybe if you have 2 credit cards, keep one hidden in your car somewhere or in a different bag somewhere. Definitely keep some cash hidden in your car or in a separate bag, or like, you know, maybe some on you and some in your purse or something like that, just in case. But I really just do recommend separating some money, or have like a prepaid Visa or something like that. And again, you can either keep one on you, one in your purse, one in your backpack, maybe one hidden in your car somewhere or hidden in another bag somewhere, as just like a just in case. So it can, again, be cash, credit card, debit card, a prepaid Visa or something like that. And maybe even like a gas card or a prepaid grocery store card or something like that, just because you never know. So just another like precautionary thing to do is definitely like separate your money. Don't have it just all in your wallet, just because you don't know. What if you lose it? What if you get robbed? You never know. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about in this video in terms of do not do this if you're traveling alone, and this one is definitely more pertained towards car travel, but this could really be any type of travel as well, is I do not recommend buying something just because someone else says you should. And I know that this is weird coming from me or any other content creator or anything, because we promote products. And really, the products that I do promote, I do believe in and I do use. However, take all that with a grain of salt, because some of us use different products, you know? I know a bunch of people who travel in like vans and RVs and stuff, and they have those like backup generator, giant like battery pack kind of things. I personally, for how I travel in my little car, I've never really needed one of those. That has never really been anything that was necessary for me personally. Another example is like a refrigerator. Some people who have trucks or something like that, they might have a fridge. I have not really ever found that necessary for me. I actually had a cooler, just like a regular one, for a couple months, and I was like, this takes up space that I don't really have, and I never really used it. And so it just kind of really depends on you, how you're traveling, your budget, obviously, and what's really important to you, you know? So I am gonna do another video. I do these about once a year, once every, you know, year and a half or so, of like the things that I really would suggest buying if you're gonna go on a road trip or if you're gonna be living in your car for a while. There are some things that I do recommend buying, but that's still me, that's still my opinion, you know? So you might see other content creators, influencers, or even just know someone else who lives in their car or who travels alone, whether they're flying, they're taking a train, whatever they're doing, and they might say, oh, I use this thing all the time, whatever it is. I use this thing all the time, you need to get it. Well, okay, you know what? You might use it too, but just think about how you travel, because they might, you know, again, like take a cooler, for example, or a fridge. Some people really use those every single day. And so you might think, well, if I watch a bunch of channels on YouTube of people traveling and they use their cooler every single day, that means that I need one. Well, it doesn't really, because you just got to think of how you plan on eating. Because you might be someone who's different, and your travels might include a lot of going out to restaurants, or a lot of, I don't know, not using a cooler for some reason, you know what I mean? But it's just really like, I know that sometimes traveling, especially for like the first time, I know that sometimes it can be equal amounts exciting and overwhelming. Like, oh, I'm so excited, and so I want to buy everything that I can think of in terms of traveling. That might make it easier, might make things more convenient, that might make things seem a little cooler, but just really think if you need it or not. Just because someone else says that they use it or that they even recommend it to you, it just does not mean that it will be something that you use or that you need. It might, it totally might, but just think about it first. You know what I mean? Like really think of how you're going to be traveling and think that if it's something that you need, because it might, but it might not. And so this one is, you know, kind of don't just buy things because they're promoted to someone in your situation, or because it seems cool, or because someone who you think is cool uses it, because it really might come in handy for you, but it might not. So just kind of take all that kind of stuff with a grain of salt. And again, this one can obviously pertain to if you're traveling alone or with other people, but I just think that sometimes we can like get caught up in like the novelty sometimes, that something looks cool online, and so I just want everything that they have because then it will be cool when I do it. But that might just not be it, you know, and you can waste money that way, you can waste space that way. And I just think, especially if you're traveling alone, but again, if you're traveling with other people, I think it can be such like an eye-opening experience when you're traveling in a way that's just different than the norm, you know? And so I really do think that it is important to make sure that the things that you have in your car, or again, if you're traveling by plane or whatever, are things that you use and things that you love. And so just following what other people say might just not work for you. It might just not be stuff that you need. But also in the same or on the opposite token or whatever, you know what I mean? You might actually buy something or use something that you never really hear talked about, you know? And so it's really just up to you to think about how you're gonna be traveling and take everyone's opinions and hear them and listen to them because they can be helpful, but don't just blindly believe them or blindly do what they say without really considering if it's something that you need or not. So anyway, I think that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed just learning some things that I would not do if you're gonna be traveling alone or if you are going to be in a car on a road trip, anything like that. And if you like this video and you want a part 2 and maybe even a part 3, please let me know in the comments. And I really hope that you're subscribed as well. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. I love you, Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.